What's going on, guys? I have an old magazine here, 1962, Physical Power. Now, first of all, I was thinking to myself, man, imagine a book today in the year 2023, right, 60 years later, named Physical Power. You know how many people would be offended by that? And that's the problem. Now, check out this editorial that's written in the beginning. And this magazine was owned by Walt Marcian. So if you know the company Marcy Barbell, sometimes you could find Marcy plates floating around on the East Coast, but predominantly on the West Coast, Marcy deep dish plates. Okay. Gene Mosey was an editor, Chuck Coker. Gene Mosey is a name I recall. And then Walt Marcian. I mean, look at the equipment they were selling. A leg press that's actually doubled as a bench press. Talk about being ballsy and gutsy, having to do that exercise. Reminds me actually of the bench/squat stand I used when I was in Israel the summer of 1994, training with my friend Joe Mastrangelo, training for the Mr. Israel bodybuilding show. We would squat on a bench, but the uprights were pulled out, turned around, and I remember somebody would have to sit on the bench because when you would rack the weight, the bench would want to take a ride, and it was like a death-defying stunt, but we did it. So anyway, I'm going to read this editorial, so my head will be down. So I hope you listen and have the discipline to stay focused. This is going to take a couple of minutes. So check it out. And again, this is from 1962. The year right now we're at the end of 2022, 60 years later. But look how familiar this is. Wanted, ambitious, honest men who believe in the free enterprise system, who are not afraid to voice and fight for their convictions. Men must assume leadership in opposing socialist and communist infiltration into key American positions. Statesmen, rather than politician caliber preferred. Salary, gross salary high, spendable salary low, but this will be reversed when you eliminate profligate waste in government and have repealed the inflationary income tax. 60 years ago, sounds just like today. Background must be the antithesis to the, quote, punish the winner, unquote, Keynesian philosophy. Apply to local, state, and federal offices where needed. Walt Marcian is calling for athletes, competitors who are strong, mind and body, disciplined, to go and become real politicians, not career politicians. Then he goes on to say this. I'll agree that this is rather an odd way to start an editorial in a physical fitness magazine. But let us just suppose that the need was there and the men were wanted. And I want to intercept that statement for a second, because if he's talking about it, it means he's thinking about it and he sees the need for it. Where would we look for men who regularly practice discipline, self-control, and self-sacrifice? For men who started with a thought and turned it into a victory. For men who looked neither to the right or left, but pursued a central purpose, fighting all the way, win or lose, to finally gain the habit of determination. Where would we look for men who had cleaner, keener minds because they practiced keeping their bodies internally clean and efficient? For men who think only of achievement and know from their training that there is a cause to every effect. Where are these men who are the doers and not the spectators, who are arduously and physically active, who are not indolent and physically lazy? Question mark. I don't know where you would look for such men, but I would look first amongst our athletes, both past and present, who in practicing for physical efficiency have acquired the desired basic human traits which are the most admired amongst men. He's talking about strength, discipline, the ability to finish and follow through and not be a quitter and a crybaby and a blame artist. Yes, of course, there are exceptions, but our system of fair play in athletic competition has produced mainly honest competitors who fight by the rules of the game. Physical prowess of the practice of physical culture methods has, in the past, put an invisible brand of idiosyncrasy upon an individual. Though that individual may have been universally admired for his vitality, strength, and physique, still, he was considered a little bit, quote, different, right? They know that there's something special about that person who has molded his body into something strong. He's an athlete, a competitor, a fighter. In trying to define the deprecating attitude of writers, intellectuals, and comedians which express this general feeling, I can only come to the conclusion that most people cannot discipline themselves to a regime of regular exercise, sensible diet, and adequate rest. That's the majority of people today. Therefore, they must, in essence, deride the mental capacity of those who have the willpower to abstain from indolence and indulgence. Take a look around. We're fatter than ever before, lazier than ever before. We think that because we do this training, that it's all around. Well, a month ago, I had to get a new iPhone that I'm filming on now. I was stuck in that Apple store for 2.5 or 3 hours. So let's easily say 300 people walked in and out. Out of the 300, I did not see one who looked like he exercised at all. 1 out of 300. The common attitude today is changing towards an acceptance of the concept of physical fitness for everyone for several reasons. Most important of which is that medical science, probing deeper and deeper into the mysteries of life, is inevitably coming to the conclusion that disease, the effect of disease, is caused by wrong living habits. The primary and basic cause of disease in the human body is a lack of resistance to stress, strains, and infections, and injuries. If the body is superbly strong and healthy, it will successfully fight off disease. I write this editorial to point out, particularly to athletes, that the qualities they have forged in the crucible of arduous physical training and strenuous competition are qualities of leadership, and that the people need this new leadership and will accept and clamor for it. Just like today, 60 years ago, he's saying the leaders are weak and we need strong leaders. Health consciousness and athletics permits an individual to practice self-control, temperance, courage, self-reliance, discipline to help fully develop his character. In a socialist state, where the man who has the brains, talent, and the ability to earn more than the indolent is taxed, and then in parentheses, punished in the increased proportion to his ability to produce, the athlete stands alone as being able to exercise ambition, love of achievement, determination, and to accept the individual responsibilities which must accrue to any man who seeks full recognition for his talents. Certainly a man who has thus gone through years of temperance and self-discipline can maintain a central purpose in public life better than the majority of today's politicians, whose central purpose seems to be the practice of the quick shift of their allegiance to the side of the issue which carries the most votes. Basically, he's saying they're fake. They're not standing up for what's right. They're just going with the flow because they don't have a strong body, which develops a strong mind, and vice versa. Why can't we develop more lawyers, more statesmen, more politicians, and more orators from our deep and tremendous stockpile of athletes who have proven they have the necessary traits of leadership? What he's saying is, 1962, like 2022, we have career politicians. We have people running our, government, our state, our region, our country, who do this as a career. They are not like deep, it's not deep rooted. They didn't earn their way there, okay? They just kind of somehow bought their way into everything, and it's all BS. They're not doing good for anybody. They're just doing good for themselves and that little inner circle of people. Think it over, athletes. America needs you, needs your vitality, your strength, your enthusiasm, and your ability to complete a job well done. Think about it, guys. That's 1962, 60 years ago. Look at that cover, physical power. Today, that would be considered toxic masculinity. This magazine, right, by the Marcy family, talks all about getting strong, just like the old strength and health magazines, the old Iron Man magazines. Lifting heavy, eating steak, drinking whole milk, eating eggs, being strong, and getting after it. Today, we're in a world where our youth and our adults are all struggling. Think about what I said about the Apple Store. 300 people. Not one of them looked like they could do a push-up. That's a problem. You need to take care of yourself. You need to be strong. As a man, it's your obligation and duty to be strong. Because if you don't have it for taking care of your family, even if you don't have a family, how can you best support people, your community? How can you protect anybody if you're weak body and weak mind? The answer is you cannot.